Have you ever read a story on Reddit and realized you know the person in real life? What happened? We were telling our dog Walker about this crazy story from Reddit of a guy who was in the big Boston blizzard that had just happened and ran out of this rare drug used to help with organ transplants. And someone on Reddit helped him by giving him some of their same rare organ transplant drug. And he was like, "That was me." I told a story of when I broke my ankle skating, and one of the other roller derby girls in my team commented, "We used to chat through Reddit a bit as I didn't skate anymore, but then last year she died suddenly in her sleep. I still have her messages and I feel weird seeing all the comments and stuff she made knowing she's gone now. Just sad." I'm like 95% sure I stumbled across my manager's Reddit account a couple months ago. There were numerous points in a post I read that lined up perfectly with things he had been talking about at work for a couple of weeks beforehand. And the word use and tone matched his speaking pretty perfectly. Not to mention the account name was fitting. It was super weird reading through the post and having this slow realization that it was him. I didn't mention it to him. This kind of knowledge is too powerful. Technically I don't know for sure, but I have a damn good feeling. About a month or so ago a guy posted a thing saying his girlfriend believes she is a cat. He went on to explain their relationship and all her quirks and whatnot. The more I read the more it sounded like this girl I had a really complicated relationship with some years ago. Everything matched, even her age. At one point she said something about wanting to quit her job and live full time as a cat. And I swear to God this girl I knew once said the same thing to me. The girl I knew even used to meow and mew like a cat. I reached out to Op to see if we lived in the same area, to find out if it was in fact her, because if so I was gonna warn him about the fact that she was very emotional, abusive and manipulative. But he never answered. I'm still fairly certain it's her though. I was browsing the sub for my city and saw an interesting post. I looked at the username and recognized it as an ex-coworker because the username is the same one they use on Instagram. Out of curiosity I looked to see what else they have posted and found out that they are really into taking shrooms. Never would have guessed it. This person was so straight-laced and by the book when we worked together. I was really surprised. My oldest sister. I asked her if she had a username based off of one of her favorite bands. Specified the album her username referenced. She said F. How did you find me? Her dog was on the front page of AWW. Never really went through her post history. Sometimes see her commenting on stuff. She gets an automatic upvote. I came across someone I knew from high school. We weren't friends or anything, but he was a nice enough guy. Him and his wife had lost something like 100 lbs combined. I was happy for him. The reverse happened to me. About 2 years ago I was diagnosed with precancerous cells in my cervix, which simply put, translates to I didn't have cancer yet but was going to if it wasn't handled. Thank God they found it early. I posted on Reddit for a while during the whole ordeal because I wanted to reach out to others who had gone through the same thing and learn more about the procedures, etc. Anyway, one day a friend came over and randomly asked me about it. Immediately I was confused because I hadn't told anyone about it other than my mom, and so he kind of laughed, kind of apologized, and said he had found my Reddit and read my posts about the whole thing. Like, even my replies to comments and stuff. Lots of honest and detailed things. I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, but it was a little awkward at the time. Yeah, some idiot that I was seeing briefly years ago kept mentioning Reddit in certain subs, so I started browsing because it sounded interesting. Came across a post that was undoubtedly him, had his car in it, and wording only he'd use. I was just about to text him found your Reddit profile when I clicked on his username just to find a post complaining about my leg hair and saying that I don't shut up quickly enough when he interrupts me. I shut up real quick when he never heard from me again. I posted snow conditions on popular local trail. Someone commented and said that they are there recently and agreed with my description. It was my husband whom I did the hike with. Saw a screenshot of this tweet and in the photo was this guy I recognized as a customer from the arcade I used to work at. He has no arms, this is relevant, and was decked out in Sonic clothes. I think his t-shirt said something like Sonic for women's rights maybe. Everyone I worked with knew him. He was really nice and amazing at playing Guitar Hero with his feet. All the comments were saying where's his arms and making fun of the Sonic outfit. Made me sad cause he's so nice. In the Houston subreddit someone posted a picture of a belly dancer at a Greek restaurant they went to. I think they were there for their anniversary and they really enjoyed the restaurant food and entertainment. I looked closely at the picture. Turned out I knew the dancer. We had taught at the same charter school about 3 years before. One of her first graders had been allowed by her mother to get ice cream every day before school at 7 a.m. Every day she crossed a major thoroughfare in rush hour traffic with her older brother. One day she ran ahead and was hit by a school bus that couldn't stop in time and was killed instantly. My friend was devastated beyond belief and ended up leaving education. There was an AskReddit thread that asked the worst scene emergency responders have come upon. One was about person I went to high school with who was murdered while off at college. Was pretty creepy. Yeah, I saw someone I knew on r/roast and it was so awkward. I started stalking their profile only to find that they posted various memes on depression and how even though they were extremely depressed they were also very determined and wanted to live. It was a mixture of inspiring and depressing since their posts were all over the place. In my town a toddler escaped from his daycare and was wandering down the middle of a busy road. He was found by a local worker after hearing multiple people honking as they drove around the kid. I posted to my town subreddit asking what the F was wrong with our town that no one stopped. I got a beer with another dad and he brought up the story he read in Reddit, which I had posted. I said hey, that was me, but the conversation just kept going. I don't think he heard. I'm only on Reddit because my ex kept telling me to go on it. I was on the relationship advice page and someone had posted about being in an open relationship with my age F and her age F, saying that he'd dumped one because this girl stopped wanting the open relationship and all he could think about was wanting her back. The other girl being boring and missing his now ex. Well, I'm his now ex and I split with him because I found out he had another girlfriend in another city. I recently discovered an ex's Reddit. We dated in 2004 and it was interesting to see his comments and posts, but eventually they just stopped. Then a few months later I learned he had died. Life is short. He was a nut in 2004, only got nuttier with time. He did a lot for me and I wish I could tell him that. Soon after a wedding, where I was in the wedding party and knew the wife way better than I knew the husband, I found the husband on Reddit. He was so wholesome. I knew I liked him and that they were a good match, but that was just an extra layer of being happy for the wife for finding someone like that to be in her life. Ex posted in relationship advice about our breakup, how he was sad and wanted to get back together, that he still missed me etc. Didn't mention the part where he cheated on me. Had to grab my throwaway for this. Recently, in the last week or so, I found a post on Am I the a-hole that I immediately recognized as my brother. He asked my wife to cook something for a family get together that she's extremely allergic to and then got upset when I tried to cook something else for her later. This was a weird read for a couple reasons. 1. He left a lot out. Maybe it was the character limit, but I don't know why he didn't answer certain questions in the comments. It would have made him look better. 2. He got destroyed by the sub. They called him out and then started making assumptions and called him out on those things too. He responded by kind of just saying he was wrong and agreeing with their assessments. At one point, he tried to talk about his job being hard on him, but they ripped him for that too. I don't really feel bad for him. He apologized to my wife and I a lot and has agreed to be the chef at every family function from now until the end of time. He can be insensitive and rude. None of this is secret. But I wondered why he didn't defend himself more than he did. There were a lot of comments made about him sitting around doing nothing while my wife cooked, took care of kids etc. Multiple people asked him what he was doing during that time and he never answered. I don't get why. My wife and I have a toddler who's deaf. My brother is fluent in sign language and he's one of the only people she's comfortable around. My wife offered to cook and then took care of the other kids mostly because my brother was spending all that time interpreting Blue's Clues for our deaf 2-year-old. I mean, yeah, he still was an ass. My wife still has a rash on her neck from cooking this stupid meal he wanted. But I don't get why he didn't say the one damn thing that would make him look more human. Yeah. Like 8 weeks ago I found out an old friend of mine had been murdered via an AskReddit thread. I went into a panic and started hitting hella people up to confirm the story and everything lined up. Turns out nobody in the town had known what happened really. Just that she disappeared around 2 years ago. That s hurt. She was the first person I met in that town. Always pleasant to talk with. I was the opposite. I posted about my now ex-husband and he found it. I talked about his abuse and my fears about leaving with the children. I talked about him gaslighting me and being physically abusive. He called my very Catholic dad to tell him I was considering divorce, which was advised to me by Redditors and my friends, and my dad called me and told me to make the marriage work. Meanwhile my dad had divorced my mom when I was 4. I said F this and left his ass. Best thing I ever did and regret 0% of it. Met now husband on Reddit and I'm happier than ever. Leave that D and find your true happiness, even if it means being alone. I made a post and someone found me. I posted on r/toastm after I broke up with my boyfriend and the post ended up blowing up. Front page of Reddit. Someone commented a pun based on my ex's last name. Turned out it was his aunt. I was mortified. I got my girlfriend at the time into keto after discovering the subreddit. Fast forward a few months and we had both lost a bunch of weight. Then she started cheating on me. I found out. Contacted the other dude and let him know the situation. And we both walked away from her. She posted on the keto sub a bit later about how she'd gone through a breakup and was emotion eating and whatever. I started to get a pit in my stomach reading it. And sure enough, when I clicked on the pic she'd posted it was her. She wasn't even a regular Reddit user and I'm pretty sure she made that post just for me to see.